Milwaukee Regional Library. We are so glad you're here. And I have to say, we have hit our maximum number of people that we are allowed to have in a room at this point. So, but we are recording. Okay, we are recording the program. And it's also going, Mr. Calls has graciously agreed to do the program again for us on April 27th. So I'll remind you again of that at the end of the program. As we get started, just a couple of housekeeping things. We have bathrooms, they're out this door to the right and down the hall, and there's a little hallway to the right, and there's a water fountain in there. Please use the back door to go in and out of the room. I've locked this door because we've got cords and I don't want anybody to trip.
Somebody's asked for another chair.
We are at capacity. And that's a rule that we were given, and it's intended to protect all of us. You have agreed by registering for this program to keep your mask on the entire time of the program. And now before we get started, one last thing. Please turn your sounds on your cell phones off so that we won't interrupt the program. I appreciate your cooperation on all of these things that we have to do. And now, without further ado, Mr. Donald Coles is a retired railroad machinist, and he's going to share some of his experiences with us through story and song. So take it away.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. What I'm going to explain, and I have another friend, Mr. Dorman, he's going to explain some of this also. But I'm going to explain the Buckingham lining bar game. When I was working for the railroad, well, my grandfather worked for the railroad, my father worked for the railroad, and I worked for the railroad. And when I got to the railroad, they had machines. But back in the 30s and the 40s, everything was done by hand. Everything was done by hand. They used these tools right here. This is a lining bar, and it is very heavy. So you can imagine walking around with this all day long, lining bars. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to play a video. It's only about 10 minutes to show you what the lining bar game, what they do.
You know what I'm going to say? Reading that love, my baby so. You make $5, give me $4. Reading that love, my baby so. Make $5, give me $4. Reading that love, baby so.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What you have just witnessed is the beginning of an operation of lining tracks. Back in the old days, the bygone days, trains, as they do now, knock tracks out of alignment. And there was a group of men whose job it was to put the tracks back in line, and not only that, to keep the tracks in proper working order, on proper shape. These same men called extra force or section workers also constructed tracks, and they were first called out when there was a train wreck or some other accident.
See this hump? In my back. Turn that system, line back. See this hump? In my back. Turn that system, line back. In my back. Oh, no.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank our people for having this project got started. These men here came together back in 1990 to reenact this work that you see them doing. local branch, which is called the Piedmont Humanities Council. And one day, one of our members suggested that we do something to serve the songs of the railroad workers. So that struck a chord with me, because although I didn't work on the railroad myself, I come from 4 generations of railroad workers, and of course, I lived among probably a dozen or more men who actually had nothing work. Most of that time were retired in '89. One day, it was decided that we might come here on this track and call a group of them together and see if we could find some tools and actually go through the motions. Got to several of the news media in the area, and that day we had quite a crowd here. Immediately. So from that, we got some national exposure, statewide exposure. I received a call early in 1990 asking me about the possibility of bringing these fellows to a rail fair in Sacramento, which was the following year, 1991.
Take that shorty and take that brown. You've been rolling with a 1-foot down. Take that shorty and take that brown too, man. Walk in, 1 foot, hold up. Move on down the line, you know, 15 foot.
This is a lining bar game.
A lining bar game.
Lining bar game. This downward was with the extra force. When we returned from that trip, we began to get calls. And we are still getting calls.
Let me know now with that night down. All down. All down. Let me know what's that. Reading I love, my baby soul. She make $5. Give me 4. Reading I love, my baby soul. That's $5. Give me 4. Reading I love, my baby soul.
Really, you don't see America. You really don't know what it was like the mountains, you know, the valleys, the rivers, you know, it's like that.
We have been as far north as the University of Massachusetts, as far south as Atlanta, Georgia. We've been into Ohio, West Virginia, Maryland, many places in North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, some of the favorite places.
I like traveling. See, I mean, when you travel, you learn this education, you learn a lot. You know, you see things, but some people say it's not there. You see it for yourself, and you know what's going on. You know what I mean?
I went to work on a railroad in 1941. Well, a week or two after growing up. You would take groups of men, sometimes 20 and 30, and put them in line down the way there. And a foreman or whoever was running the track had a good eye, he would stand up the track, from the earshot. So you did a lot of it by signals. Forward, back, and right and left, or to the river, to the hills. And you directed the car. And the car would would take his bar and move it along the rail. You said, well, he's at the cake. He was going to what? Stop him right there. That much. That much. Or throw it a country mile. See, that's where you direct. And in other words, that gang had to be as well disciplined as a football squad. In this process of line the track, the foreman or key man or whoever was doing the sight line would communicate with the lead corner. And he would send these little two-line ditties in order to get the men together and so forth like that. With 9 all in the morning was cool. In the afternoon, they take those gangster forks and take gravel from the side there and throw it up in there, and that would anchor the track. And that track is ready for service. And sometimes that section of the track will hold up 8 or 10 years or more and be smooth.
I'm stopping it now because I want to talk about this mall hammer. I used to work, I did this for about 30 days. I was working for the railroad. I got laid off after I got married, and I was off for about a year, and then they called me back. They had a job working for the line gang. So I went out there and I worked for 59 days. Hard work, it really was. This is the mall hammer that they use, and it's very heavy. I think it's 12, 13, 14, 15 pounds. It's heavy. It's a heavy mall hammer. And I just wanted to say, those men are very, very strong, and they're not, all of them aren't big men. I have seen them, they take the mall hammer and pretend like this is what they do. This was fun on the railroad for them. They would take this mall hammer and pretend like this is the mall hammer with the mall on it. They could hold that mall hammer straight out. Take the mall hammer, turn the maul and touch their nose, and bring the mall hammer back down to the ground. They were very strong men, really. So that's why I just wanted to stop it for a minute, because and it's a technique in swinging the small hammer. You don't do you kind of roll it, and you can do it all day long. He will tell you this.
Donald, you going to show us?
I don't think I'm going to show it today. He's crazy about this spiking. It's a technique.
You drive one of those spikes in and all hope that you got the little bus on. And what you're doing, you're letting it rebound with the hammer. Take that shell. When it gets over there, and when it's coming down, you hunch it. That's what the power does. So you get the rhythm of it there, you can do that all day long. A young mom coming in, he's got all the muscles and stuff like that, he can turn around and do that cornfield, they can get that thing down, but he's not going to do it very long. It fits from the handle. Lift it up.
Mostly in the wintertime, they would be cutting ties.
They cut ties, they get the lumber, raw lumber, and they used to cut the ties by hand. Now the factories make the ties, but back then, they used to cut it by hand. The guy that was narrating this, 17, at the end of this video, right there. Oh, let me play this part right here, and then I go to another tape.
These men, when they worked out on the tracks, because of the laws of Virginia at that time and the union contracts at that time, these men were not permitted to hold supervisory positions, no matter how well-rounded they got or how competent they got in working line and tracks. And actually, our chief caller here, Johnson, was actually a foreman trainer. That is, he trained foremen who later supervised him.
And how does the railroad and music intertwine? On the railroad, everybody sang on the railroad. They really did. And I'm going to play a song. And everybody, that would kill a lot of time because we had a lot of downtime. So I'm going to play a song that when I was on the railroad, I used to play when I was on the railroad. And here we go. I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, just like a river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. It's true I'm living, but I'm afraid to die. And I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. I go to the movie and I go downtown. Somebody keeps telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Then I go to my brother. I said, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Oh, there's been times that I thought I couldn't last too long. Now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Thank you. Thank you. If you notice, there have been a lot of changes on the railroad. When I got there in 1980, boy, they stopped doing that. I'm glad they stopped doing that. It is hard work, but somebody had to do that work. Okay, what I'm going to show you, I'm going down here. All right. I had the pleasure at the end of this first tape, at the end of this first tape, at the end of the first tape, it was a telephone number there. And I saw these guys back in the 90s. They're all dead, but two of them. So it was a telephone number at the end of the tape. So I called the number. And so happened a lady answered the phone. And she answered the phone, and that was the man that was narrating, Mr. White. He was the narrator. He lives in Buckingham County. So I asked her if I could go out, come over, and interview him. And I did, and it was just amazing. The man, he's written 2 books. He's got, and this is interesting read, he's really heavily in history. He's got a lot of letters from slaves. He's got a bunch of articles at his house. He writes the paper. He's the editor of the paper, and he's 92 years old. This man is 92, so I'm going to just play about 5 minutes of him speaking and telling you how he started this.
But anyway, now, after that came out, the Virginia Foundation for the Humanities made a decision to have a local branch, and a professor at Hampton City College was in charge of it. So we did some folklore stuff, like old works, play songs the kids used to sing when we were kids and all. And that was a successful project. By and by, one of the ladies in the group said, you know, I grew up close to the railroad. And I used to see these men out there with these songs, with these bars and whatnot. Well, that was well, now. I saw it too. I lived in Clifton Boys, and you know, Clifton Boys is a railroad town. I saw it growing up. Mama warned me one day not to go listen to those guys, but anyway, and I told them, they said, well, we ought to get some interview with some of these guys who actually did it. Well, I had 5 or 6 in my neighborhood and in my church. So I got together with them, and one thing led to another. We ended up in Dillon, you know, they have a railroad in Dillon, doing a reenactment. And these guys came, some came from Goochland. I forget the guy's name that came from Goochland. He was the first C&O form of the track gangs. I forget his name. Well, WTBR in Richmond picked it up. And we were going to do it. Here come the cameras, the television cameras on. And it reached Sacramento, California, where they were planning a 50th railroad celebration about in Sacramento for the big railroad they were going to have. And they called me one night and told me they wanted to bring these guys to California. I said, what? And I said, these guys don't know we've been to California. He said, no, Mr. Wayne, now wait a minute. We're going to bring it, we're going to fly it. We'll put you on a holiday in, everything, and give you all amount of money. I called
these guys together, they didn't believe it. I don't think they believed it until I showed them a half-lane ticket. So we went, and to make a long story short, we got back home, we found all hell that broke loose, because we began to get, first in Appomattox, where they really was from Appomattox to Appomattox, and we got calls from everywhere about bringing guys that for 20 years, that's what we did. They're all gone now. Not but 2 was left. And only one, a little older than I am, actually did it very well. He's still alive, and I think he's kind of out of it. We do have living close by a wife of one of these guys. One of the main calls. You know, they had a guy that called the caters and all. And we became quite a group, you know. And I had some trouble with them, some of them, because the one from Appomattox didn't want to participate with us because he'd done it all his life, and he found that we changed the word number all the songs. I told him, man, we can't use all these expressions, you know, these women in children, all don't remember, hear nothing that they don't hear on television. I said, well, we can't do that, you know. And of course, I still had trouble with some of them. One guy from Nelson, big loud voice, and could hear him all over the place. And I had, every time he get ready to start, him to come to sing that song, I had to pat him on the back and tell him, now we already got children and women, but on occasion he let it go anyway. I got a girl on yonder hill, she won't dance with Sister Will. Somebody.
Y'all just fill in the blank. There was a lot of cursing on the railroad. The railroad guys, we were like sailors. Okay, I'm going to do another song, and it's a blues song. And anybody ever heard of El Giro?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do an El Giro song, and the reason I'm doing this, I looked El Giro up, I Googled El Giro, and did some research on El Giro, and found out that his father worked for the railroad. So I am going to do a song that El Giro made famous, and see if I can get through this. Here we go. Give love and never get love. You better let love depart. I know it's so. Yes, I know. Can't get you out of my heart. Make me leave my happy home. You took my love and now you're gone. Since I fell for you, my such misery and pain. I guess I'll never Well, it's too bad, and it's too sad that I'm in love with you. Well, you love me, and you snub me, but what can I do? I'm still in love with you. I guess I'll never see the light. I get those blues most every night since I fell for you. Yeah. But what can I do? I'm still in love with you. I guess I'll never see the light. I get those blues most every night since I fell for you. Since you love me, then you snub me. I pray no one's above me now, black and blue, since I fell for you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. We have another part. We're going to have Mr. John Dorman. Let me tell y'all about John Dorman. Since I've been knowing John Dorman for many years. And John Dorman, he's a history buff. He has so many hobbies. I can't even name all the hobbies he's got, but it's a lot of hobbies. But I've been to his house. He has a lot of history at his house. Anybody know who Wendell Scott is? Okay, let's educate you guys. Wendell Scott was the first African-American person to win NASCAR. Do y'all remember the movie with Richard Pryor? That was Wendell Scott. Wendell Scott was Mr. Dorman also has his race car. They took his race car and they put his race car in the museum down in South Carolina? Charlotte, in the museum in Charlotte, NASCAR. And this guy, I can talk all day about Mr. Dorman, but Mr. Dorman is going to come up here and he's going to explain some of these things. Also, he's got about 3 or 4 world search jukebox in his garage that I would love to get my hand on and they work. He's got a lot of stuff in his garage. Mr. Dorman.
Thank you. I'm just a collector. I love history, so to speak. But I have over 20 different hobbies. You name it, from A to Z, I collect. I have tons of stuff. I got probably over 2,000 pieces of just R&B literature and different things, just from the railroad itself. I got fascinated by the railroad when I was about 10 or 11 years old. I was living about 2 blocks from 17th Street. Down at 17th Street, you see, you know, you used to run the train down through the bottom. And they had a turntable down there, which is this thing right here. That fascinated me. We used to go down as kids, 10, 11 years old, and see a big train turn around on this turntable. Yeah, that was just fascinating me, to turn it around in a different way. And this particular one here is over at Apple Yard, 1944, when they built this particular one. And it has about 24 stalls where the engine could go here and put in one of these trains in there to work on. And when they work on trains, they take the wheels off, or the trucks off. We call them wheels, but they're trucks, they call them. And they would turn around and back out. And it's just fascinating to see a train really familiar. Probably a big engine that weighs over 20 tons is turning on that turntable. Now, this particular one is, I think it's 105 feet around in the radius, in a sense. And it's just fascinating just to watch them. This is one of the railroad guys, his whole history here, what he made is his stuff, and just bills and different books that he had followed. Keys that he used for different locks on the railroad, which is, he's not really sought after type things, the keys for the different things on the railroad. Now, this piece, just for all of my memorabilia, was one day hung in either one of the president's office, all of this original. A lot of people, and you probably never see this again, because I've been looking for #1 for 25 years. This is #2 bus. Now, this bus ran from Broad Street Station to Ashland in probably 1927, 28. And this is the original drawing that the guy did, you know, to promote the bus trip here from Ashland to Richmond, Richmond to Ashland. And eventually, they extended to Fredericksburg, and they actually went to Washington, D.C. with their transportation for the RFP when they extended it. But I've been looking for #1. So anybody went across #1, let me know. These are some of the engines the ball was made for RFP back in 1890s, early 1900s. This particular engine here was the one when Jeff Davis retreated to Danville in 1864, 65. This was the train that the engine that pulled the train that he was on. So, this is 66, 67 trailer train that they haul cars. A lot of people haven't seen the open trains today. They're out here somewhere in some storage and all that. But that's fascinating to see all these. Now you see tractor trailers with all these cars on it. But the train used to haul just like everything from Michigan and Ford Motor Company, General Motors, and all that. The train did a lot of work for it. Now, this particular piece, I blew up from a page out of this book here, The Brief History of the RFP. Now, this is 1835, 36, 37, where the president or RFP, they used to hire slaves. They used to have slaves do this line of London. In January, they would go into the plantations, and they would pay plantation owners $100. They paid this one $115. This one $115. RFP, the company would pay $100 January strippers, and they would return the slave in December, the whole year. Well, R&B would take care of feeding and clothes, but, you know, as far as paying, that was the only pay that they paid the slave owners, the plantation owners. Now, this is just, it's part of that history, in a sense, they're going way back. Now, this piece, I couldn't bring it right here because it weighed. In my garage, I kind of scale, you know, it hang up on a rafter, and it tilted at 200, so it's probably 250 pounds. This is a bronze plaque that was put in Broad Street Station in 1934. They were celebrating 100 years of RF&P. Now, how do you hung this thing up? You got two holes in the top and bottom. Here, two holes here. There must be some kind of pins that they put in the wall. And this is the original program. This is the original program that came with this. And it was really elaborate, you know. The men in the studios were there and they took pictures of it and gave me pictures with me. But the men in the studios took a big, nice picture, which I have. And this thing is original. To me, of all the 2,000 pieces of R&B, literature and things, language and all that I have, to me, this is the holy grail of R&B collecting. And this is the only one known to exist. Like I say, this is the actual original size of it. I had Kinko's to blow the picture up. They couldn't blow it up to the size of this whole thing. But this is the real size of it, the whole plaque itself. And then, like I said, it weighed about 250 pounds altogether. And that's about the best, as I can say, in my hobby of R&B. That is the whole real hobby. I've been personally, you know, have a training or something like that, but I think that is the piece because it has the President John Lancaster, which he was the president of R&B in 1834, and Norman Call in 1934. He was the president of R&B. And it's just a nice piece to have. It seems like things find their way to me for some reason. I guess I'm out there all the time looking at stuff. Now, I have a lot of old stuff that I was telling maybe back there, but the oldest piece that I have on is not related to training, but the oldest piece that I have is 200 BC, you know, 24 Christ. This is a piece of papyrus paper sealed in glass that the Egyptians had hieroglyphics on. They wrote on it and it's sealed. And it's really, that's the oldest piece that I have. You know, you probably can get a ticket or a cash receipt now and put it in your pocket. And some of them, by the time you get home, the ink is gone. It's just gone. You know, you put it in the sun, and it just fades away. And this hieroglyphic on this piece of papyrus paper, it just, you can read it in a sense. You know hieroglyphics, you can read it. But that's 200 BC. That's the oldest thing that I have. But in my collections, you know, I collect everything, bricks. And Ashton had a brick meet here, and when bricks, you just exchange. There's no change in hands of money. This guy got a brick from this company that really that's bricks. And my unique collection is barbed wire. And barbed wire, people don't realize how many people has died behind barbed wire. Once they run barbed wire out in the Midwest, we don't have too many big farms that run really barbed wire here in the state too, but out in the Midwest, when people start barbed wire, that was the line. You cross that line, they'll shoot you. You know, in a sense, a lot of people was killed. And barbed wire, people don't realize it, but barbed wire, I have a book that has over 4,000 different types of barbed wire. We just see 2 or 3 of them. And in the military, I'm a Vietnam vet myself. In the military, we straight concertina wire that's round. And that's really is dangerous wire. And they spray that, you get caught in that, you just bleed to death and just sleep. Any questions about this R&B stuff?
Is the Broad Street Station what's now the Science?
Science Museum, that's right, that's true. And you know, the railroad has always been wealthy. I mean, billions of dollars back in the early 1900s. And the things that people threw away, when they built a company or moved to this place, they just take it and throw it in the river or just have dumpsters and just throw stuff away. So a lot of stuff that I have in the alley or somewhere, find it. You know, it's not that you have to go to an auction to get it. They throw it away. You know that they're throwing something away. They go to the dumpster, do a little dumpster dive and go in and just put it on there. You know, they threw away a lot of stuff in there.
Were any of the art being used any specific manufacturer to do the engines?
But Baldwin?
Yeah, the steam, yeah.
Yes, Baldwin did most of the engines here. But this particular one was done by Rogers Locomotive Works. And we have companies here, and they would produce engines and stuff. But people don't realize that in a week, they would produce 5 or 6 engines in 1 week. You know, it was really something.
Yeah, because I know right, just not too far away from the old Broad Street station, where the Ruby Land Cinemas are now, that was a place that, you know, made the trains.
Yeah.
I was just curious if maybe they did some for RFP back then. Because I don't know what manufacturer name worked out of there.
Well, I used to love riding trains. Basically, the first train ride was basically July 6th, 1966, when Broad Street Station going to the military. I signed up, and they took us from Broad Street Station to Columbia, South Carolina on the train. That was a great train. And then when I ended up in Germany, I used to ride trains on Sundays. Just about every Sunday, ride a train somewhere, go to a castle, back and forth from there. And Thailand, we ran some trains over in Vietnam too. So, but I just love to ride trains. It's fascinating. And my wife, she gets after me. We're gonna that crossing on Hermitage Road. She said, "Train coming, let's go around." Now I can watch 100 cars just go by. It's just fascinating me just there. Let's go. But you know, it's already with me. You know, a lot of people get mad when the gate comes down and say, "Oh, I gotta go, I gotta go." I just love it. I just love it.
You must get excited if you're down here and you happen to be there. Well,
oh yeah,
and 2 are coming. One's coming this way, one's coming the other way. You get caught by both of them.
Well, I go to Tiny Tim's train place all the time over there to Russell. And basically the kids come in there, and the train comes by, they just fascinated the window. It's fascinating to have a train, store right on the tracks. You can't get location. It gets great. All right, Mr. Coles.
Well, thank you, Mr. Dorman. I'm going to do one more song. I'll probably do about 100, but I'm going to do a song, and I'm going to end it with the song. And this song is, I think it's appropriate for tonight. See if y'all can name the song. A-Train, Ella Fitzgerald. And the reason I'm doing Ella Fitzgerald, y'all know that Ella Fitzgerald is from Portsmouth. She lived here. And she's a marvelous singer. They give out an Ella Award. That's the highest award that you can get. So I'm going to attempt to do a little bit of Ella. Come on, let's catch that A-train to go to Sugar Hill, we've been home. Ding dong, whoop whoop, but listen for that A-train to go to Sugar Hill, we've been home. Listen to those wheels are bumping. Listen to those wheels are bumping. All aboard now. Ding dong, whoop whoop, but listen for that A-train. Go park the car, don't park your car. We'll be right back. I dream of Jeannie with the light brown hair. Oh, how I wish she was there, so I can share the bliss of just one kiss. While I'm standing in the rain, while I'm waiting for the train, I knew that I should hurry, but I figured I should worry if I should ever be late. I couldn't afford to wait, so I went a looking for the A-train. wrong. Hey, I just swung the song. Ella Fitzgerald was an unquestionable landmark American jazz artist, a trendsetter, pioneer, and prototype for many who followed her. Ella Fitzgerald's shining vocals and uncanny ability to improvise wooed audience all around the world for 50 years. She earned it the prestige of becoming the first African American to win a Grammy Award. Born in Newport News, Virginia, Fitzgerald overcame a series of trauma as a youth, and she won an amateur contest at the Apollo Theater at the age of 17. Following the win, Fitzgerald was introduced to drummer and band leader Chick Webb, who asked her to join the band as a singer. With Webb, Fitzgerald rose to fame at the Harlem-famed Savoy Ballroom. The band recorded several hits such as Love and Kisses, You Have to Swing, but her rendition of a children's nursery rhyme, A Tasket, brought her nationwide fame, selling over 1 million copies. Ella had a unique, pure voice with a useful quality that lasted her lifetime. And she also enjoyed popular dance. Over the course of her career, Fitzgerald sung with Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Frank Sinatra, Count Basie, Nat King Cole, Quincy Jones. Fitzgerald's catalog includes thousands of songs, and she sold more than 40 million albums. She appeared in film, TV. Ella Fitzgerald was awarded 20 Grammy Awards and numerous honors, international and national, including the National Medal of Arts, the Kennedy City Award, and the Excellence, and the President of Medal of Freedom Award. She was very busy. Okay, y'all gonna help me sing this song. Here we go. Come on. I'm gonna give you the mic. Come on, let's catch that A train to go. Sugar Hill, we've been Harlem. Ding dong, whoop whoop. Listen for that A train to go. Sugar Hill, we've been Harlem. Who has rhythm? Listen to those wheels are thumping. Listen to those wheels are thumping. All aboard now. Ding dong, whoop whoop. But listen for that A train to go. Sugar Hill, we're in Harlem. Listen to those wheels are thumping. All aboard now. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you, everybody.
Organized this series of programs. Francine has asked me to make a couple of quick announcements about future programs. We have a program, Ancestral Music's Journey and Exploration of the African Oxhorn Flute at the Atlee Branch Library on Wednesday, March 2nd. That's next week. And then the following week, March 9th, also at the Atlee Library, will be Glenroy Bailey and Bill Evans with the history of black music. So I hope you can come to those, and this program is going to be repeated on the April 27th here. And the program is also being recorded and will be available on the library's YouTube page in a few days. And Francine?
Yes, I wanted to thank you, Carol, and the Ashland Branch Library, and for Monkey Library System for continuing to collaborate with us. And I say that on behalf of the Hanover County Black Heritage Society and also the Randolph-Macon College Department of Black and African American Program Studies. I want to bring your attention to our encore presenter, Mr. Glenroy Bailey, is with us tonight. Remember with the two announcements that Carol was kind enough enough to make. He and Mr. Joshua Allen, who will be demonstrating the handmade instrument of the African ox horn flute. His story is that, well, he was working on the plantations with his grandfather in North Carolina. His lineage passed on the tradition of how to actually make a flute out of an actual authentic ox horn. So he will be demonstrating and conveying that through music and song and story, and he will have a display of the instrument. Also know that we want to thank our guest presenters tonight, and thank you all for investing your time and sharing time with us this evening. In addition to this video being posted to the Pamunkey Library site, there is a PowerPoint presentation sharing the African American experience on the railroad that is also posted to the Pamunkey Library website, and we would love for you all to enjoy that as well. Thank you all so much.
We have a display of some pictures, many of which were provided by Mr. Dorman. Mary Waddy put together a wonderful display in the center of our library, and we invite you to come take a look at it. Thank you, and I hope you'll come back again.
Thank you.